Well, hello friends. It has been quite a while. I disappeared for several years after making this YouTube account to talk about my journey through the Bible. Some life situations happened as I was working through that journey, and then I ended up putting my YouTube on the back burner. But I am now at the phase in life where, as a stay-at-home full-time mom, I am also homeschooling my son, and so I am starting to watch a lot more homeschool-based like YouTube videos, and so I thought, why don't I give it a try, just share what our experience is. And it feels a little bit like an oxymoron to say, but these are my kindergarten Charlotte Mason inspired picks. And it's an oxymoron because Charlotte Mason didn't really believe in a formal education until your child was 6 going on 7, which is generally first grade, which she called year 1 or form 1. Year 1 in form 1, I believe. But yes, there are some things, parts of her philosophy that I don't necessarily agree with, but I am heavily inspired by her big focus on literature and living books. So the picks that I have reflect that, and I will have more options next year because that is when a lot of the curriculums start that are Charlotte Mason inspired, because of the fact that she did not believe in a formal education in kindergarten. So but my son started in daycare for the first 3.5 years of his life, and so he was kind of already, I say formal education, he was in preschool, and he would sit down and have lessons every day, and so he was kind of used to that. And so when I took him out of daycare, preschool, to be home full-time, it just made sense to continue that. And so we used the Blossom and Root Early Years Volumes 1 and 2 for preschool and then pre-K. And we made it through those, and we love Blossom and Root, and so you're going to see a lot of Blossom and Root in today's picks. But I am totally open to being flexible. If some of these things don't work, then I am totally willing to look at other options. But I am just excited to show you guys what I've picked for my son's kindergarten year. Totally forgot to say this up front, but I'm filming in my bedroom. I'm still trying to figure out where my filming location will be. I've moved since my last video. This is my real life. I've got homeschool pics here. I've got a water bottle. I've got a tripod. I've got laundry that needs to be folded. I halfway made the bed, so it is what it is. I figured I would be real, and I have the energy to make a video, but not the energy to clean up first. So you pick your battles. Okay, I am going to start with the literature, language arts, and all of those picks. So first up, we have Phonics Pathways. This is what I'm using for teaching reading. I initially was going to use the Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons book, but I never felt great about it. Once I started to look at the lessons and I read through, because it's basically a script that you read through, when I started to look through it, I was like, I just feel like I don't know that it makes a whole lot of sense for my son. I think he asks too many whys, and I think that when it comes to that particular method, it teaches children to read very quickly, but it doesn't necessarily teach them the why or any of the kind of like rules behind some of the sounds and the blending. And so I did not love that choice. I think that that's a good choice for people who want to start teaching maybe at like 4 or 5 and then start a more formal reading curriculum when the child is in kindergarten. But for us, it just did not make sense. So then I watched a video where someone mentioned Phonics Pathways. I feel a lot better about this one. This is one that actually will take a lot longer to get through, so it's one that could last through 1st or even 2nd grade. But here's an example of what some of the pages look like. And then it gives you some different methods that you can use to teach the pages. They kind of leave it up to you. That's one of the things that makes Phonics Pathways a little bit more challenging to teach, is just because it does not give you a script to read. But I just did not feel great about the other book, and so this is why I choose this one. Excuse me. I also have the Reading Reflex book, and I have the 100 Easy Lessons book, and so I have other things I can pull from. The other option would be just going straight to the Blossom and Root curriculum and seeing kind of what their method is. I'm also using this book for the journal entries, because there is a journal entry every week, as well as for, actually this is the student notebook. This is the parent guide. Also for literature. So just to give you an example of what a page looks like. So there is a literature pick, suggested literature enrichment activities, and then there is copy work, journaling, and narration. The copywork goes along with the reading lessons, and then the journaling is just like a separate prompt, and then narration is where the child narrates the literature pick. So we will be doing the literature pick, or what we will be using from here is the literature and the narrating for the literature as well as the journaling. And so that is where the student notebook comes in. If you used the early years for Blossom and Root, then you probably are overwhelmed looking at all of the books for kindergarten, because there's a whole lot more printable books that you have to get, just because there's a wider array of subjects. So now if you are doing reading, you are going to have the copywork here, as well as, like I said, the copywork will go along with the reading. And then you'll have the journal entry and the narration. So I have a few different options for narration if we don't end up liking doing narration in here, or if we end up doing narration for our nature lore, for nature study, if my son wants to get into the narration, or if I decide to add it and he wants to write it down. What we will do in that case is we have three options there. So we have a notebook that I bought, and my for narration, the way that it works for Charlotte Mason is for the first several years. Your child does oral narration, and you as the parent write it down. You don't correct anything that they've said. You write it as they say it, and then they start doing written narration on their own. But so I'm giving several different options. So we can do it in a student notebook, like it has a space for. We could also, if we wanted to do it in another notebook. And then I have these that I got from, I want to say Dollar Tree, that are just plain lined paper. And then I also have this that I bought in the past that has a space for them to draw, as well as for the parent to write. So there's lots of different options here. We will see what I end up going with, but excuse me, that is for narration. And then there's a really great book list here. I think one of the ways where Blossom and Root one of the things they do really well is their book lists. Their literature, I think, is outstanding. So I'm going to go over some of what is included here. Okay, so there are lots of different books that are included here, but there are some that are going to be used for multiple weeks, or they are some that I just decided to purchase instead of getting from the library because I thought they would maybe be utilized more than once. Excuse me. So there are also some where we can pick different options. So let me actually go to the book list. Actually, I think, yeah, okay. So there is, for some weeks, there's actually where you can choose a different option. There's two to choose from. So for the first one, where there was an option, there is either Winnie the Pooh or Heartwood Hotel. We read Heartwood Hotel last year as a read aloud, and my son wasn't super into it, so we are going to give Winnie the Pooh a try. And this particular one is one that was my sister's as a child, and so this actually has both the original stories from Winnie the Pooh as well as the stories from the house at Pooh Corner. But we will be going through this. It's also got it's got a lot of black and white pictures, but it's also got some color pictures. So this is one of the books that we will be reading. We will also be reading The Bears on Hemlock Mountain. This is not one I'm familiar with, but it is a classic. I want to say, let me see. This was originally written in 1952. So yeah, that is one of the ones that we are reading. My Father's Dragon. This is also an older one. It's funny, this is one that I never used to see, and now I see it at thrift stores all the time now that I've already purchased it. But I used to see it on Pinterest all the time, but never at the store. Now I see it at all the thrift stores. This was originally written in 1948. So that is this one. Then we've got two Frog and Toads. We've got Frog and Toad Are Friends and Frog and Toad All Year. And the Frog and Toad books, which I never read as a kid. I knew that it was a popular character, but I never read these books. But these all have multiple stories in them, and so we will be going through them throughout the year, taking turns through the different ones, as well as we have Little Bear, same thing. We love watching Little Bear at our house. It is just so calming. I love the music. And then we have original, several stories here as well. And the artwork I love just because some of it, I mean, it's directly like exactly what you see in the TV show. So cute. So that is that. Then we have Pig and Pug. This is not one I'm familiar with either, but it's a fun little book, fun little easy reader. And then we have Penny and Her Marble, which this one I believe has chapters. Yeah. So those are some of the required readings. And then one thing that I forgot to share when we are going through our phonics lessons, once we have gotten through learning how to blend words, we are going to go through one of the McGuffies. I haven't decided which one to use yet. Sherry K. Hayes, who is a really big proponent of using classic literature and classic textbooks and simplifying your education in that way. She has a great video. If I remember, I will link it below. But on just some ways that you can use the McGuffies to teach reading. I won't be using that to teach reading, but I will be using it to practice reading. So she's talked about the differences in these. She recommends starting with the originals up until I think book 2 or 3, and then moving on to the eclectic, the newer ones, because the content of the older ones is a little bit heavier, which matches what the children were going through in those days. But like there's actual like larger stories as you go through the book. So once we've gotten through blending words, we will go through one of these. Not sure which one. We may even take turns going through each. And then I also, from Sherry K. Hayes, bought the lesson book, which you can get on Amazon through her storefront. And she's got lots of example pages here. She also, in that video that I mentioned, talked about ways that you could utilize this. But she gave some examples using the lessons in here. So you would take the, let's say 3 to 4 words here, and then you would have your child write them in the box, or you would write them up top, your child would copy them, and they might draw it. And then as well as, then they would do it on the next line. And then there's also a place for copy work for the full sentences. This is just the words broken down, and then this would be putting them into sentences. And then there's some, a space for dictation. So there's lots of different ways that you could utilize this. I like that it is flexible, and you can make it work however you need it to. Another book that I would like to use to practice reading, but it may be one where we don't do any work along with it. It may just be one to show like the fun of reading, is this is the Treadwell Primer. And this one has a lot of popular stories. You've got The Little Red Hen, Gingerbread Boy, Chicken Little, Three Billy Goats Gruff, Little Spider's First Web. So there's a lot of popular like folk tales and stories and stuff in here. And so this is another book that I plan to use for teaching to read. That one may be closer to the end of the school year, but that is one that I intend to go through. So that is language, arts, and literature. And then next for handwriting, we are using Handwriting Without Tears. I bought this on Marketplace several years ago. They have a revised edition that has color pictures, and I'm not sure if what else in terms of the contents is different, but I already have this from Marketplace. So once we get to my daughter, I may buy the new revised edition, but honestly, this one works just fine. This one is, the great thing about these books is they give you so many options for what you can teach. This is a really well-rounded curriculum. If you've got a child who is picking up a pencil for the very first time, they can utilize this. If you've got a child who has been writing their name for 2 years, they can use this. So my son has pretty good handwriting, actually excellent handwriting, if I'm being honest, but he does not know the correct way to, like, where to start the letter, like at top or on the bottom. And so that's one of the things that we're really going to be working on this year. And we have 2 books we are going to go through. The first one is Letters and Numbers for Me. I did not, trying to think. Yeah, I did not have this one. I had the parent book from Marketplace, but then I ended up having to buy this. I think I got it on Christian Book because they still had the older edition. So you will go through all of the letters, and then you will start to go through words. And then you'll be doing just like full-on copy work with punctuation, just some very, very, very elementary grammar, just like periods and capitals in the beginning of the words. So that is that book. My son used the green book from Handwriting Without Tears, but I did not have the instructor book. So I'm not sure if I utilized that to its full potential. But we went through that, and then I also ended up buying this because this one did not have enough lessons to get us through 36 weeks of school. So I bought this one to pick up once we've gotten through the other one. And this one is called Building Writers, and it's a lot more copy work. And even some like basic logic, like write about what food you can grow to feed animals. And so you've got different options here that you can copy down. So I grow corn to feed squirrels. I grow sunflowers to feed birds. I grow spinach to feed rabbits. So there's a lot of repetition here as well. So this is another book that I think is going to be really helpful once we have gotten through the basics. And actually, if this book is like pulling teeth, because it felt like when we were using the green ones, one of them kind of felt like he was a little bit too advanced for it. If we end up deciding we don't need this, we will just go straight to Building Writers. So moving on to nature study, one of the things that Charlotte Mason felt very strongly about is children's need to connect with nature and with God's design and with creation. And so she really emphasized the importance of children getting outdoors to especially really learn to start to have observation skills as they are learning about just kind of how life progresses. And so Blossom and Root, which is heavily Charlotte Mason inspired, has a full curriculum for nature study. That's another way that they excel in. So each page or each week has one page. And so we are breaking ours down into 3 days, some days 2, depending on how exactly it's working here. But what we've got is nature lore. That's going to be the first thing that we do during the week. And for the first half of the year, we are learning about North American mammals. So we have the Burgess Animal Book. I got the whole set that Living Book Press had of the newer editions with colored pages, color pictures. I mean, I do think that having these color pictures is really, really helpful. So at least for my son, I think that that's something he's going to benefit from. So he likes to look at real pictures of things, especially like animals. So the second half of the year, we've got seed babies because the other portion of the year goes over different types of seeds. And so that goes through this book. I also got this from Living Book Press. So there's it goes through sweet peas, peanuts, melons, nuts, lots of different types of seeds here. And then this will be the same. This is going to be our weekly nature lore. I also have pictures that I got printed. I got everything printed through HQ I got everything printed through Hard Copy HQ, and so I also got some pictures printed as well for each week. My son really liked for art doing something similar to this last year, which I will actually go over in a minute, but having some colored copies of things. So there are pictures for each like animal of the week. I think there might be more than one animal some weeks, so there might be more than one picture some weeks. I'm not sure if that's true. I might have made that up. But yes, so even though we have the full color Burgess Animal Book, I think that this is going to be another good resource for us. And then another thing that we will be doing throughout the week is a nature notebook. So the student notebook goes through all of the different nature notebook entries, and so you don't have to have your own notebook, which is really nice. We do have a nature notebook that we use that at this point will just become one that we use when we go out on our own. But for homeschool specifically, for this, they ask you to pick an outdoor classroom. So for example, this is our first entry in the nature notebook for the first week, is we will describe what the outdoor classroom is, and then or we'll draw a picture and then describe it. And they really want you to pick places where you can go multiple times throughout the year so you can see the changes. You can observe that the colors are changing, or that the leaves fell off the trees, or that the flowers are blossoming. So we have got, or blooming. So we've got that, and then we also will be going out somewhere every week, at least 2 to 3 times a week. The goal is to go to some kind of trail or something more than just a playground. We love playgrounds. We are doing 1,000 hours outside this year. So we are a little over halfway for the year right now. It is the start of August. But I'm trying to branch out and do more trails as opposed to just playgrounds. So we will be doing that through the year. Also, another really great thing about this is that it gives you optional supplemental books and spines. For some of the spines, we have some really pretty, the DK anthologies. And what's nice is that for the spines, it actually tells you what page to use. So you don't have to just use a reference book and like find a page and hope that it works together. So that is nature study. We also have science. So the entire kindergarten year is focused on space, which is really awesome because I live in North Alabama and we are home to the Rocket City. So I'm going to be able to kind of blend that into our learning, which is really nice. So this is science with integrated math. We do have a supplemental math curriculum we'll be using, but as far as science goes, it is a child that is going to space. That is kind of the whole theme. And so you have a letter from mission control that you're going to read to them. And then you have some suggestions, like what the topic is going to be for the week, then the optional lesson enhancements from the spines, optional supplemental books, videos. So I love that Blossom and Root gives you all of these options so that you don't have to do the work, the extra work to find what it is that you are going to use to supplement with your curriculum. We are going to just be doing science once a week because we have 2 pages that we're doing in here, and then we have a little entry we're reading. So the first thing that they're having you do every single week when you have your science lesson is the captain's log. So this is going to be where you kind of work on a calendar. One thing I don't love about this is that this is not really practice with a traditional calendar. I do have something that we'll be using every day, but as far as this goes, like this is not teaching your child anything except how to fill out a date. So, I mean, it is teaching like them to, even if they don't know how to read yet, to look for the specific months, the days of the week, and then the date. But, I guess in my mind, I would think that a traditional calendar setup might be a little bit better. But then anyway, there's also an entry to go along with the captain's log every day or every week when you have your lesson. So that is science. So like I said, I have a separate math curriculum I'm using, which is going to be the Kindergarten Math with Confidence. And I am very excited to use this book. It's going to be a lot more like worksheet based and colorful than what I'm going to be using in first grade. I do hope to use Simply Charlotte Mason, but what I like about this curriculum is it reinforces a lot of what I taught my son in pre-K. So there is counting to 100, learning how to count money, time of day, directions and patterns, basic addition and subtraction, and measurement, and then shapes. So they are going to have pages, work pages like this, very simple with lots of, like I said, color and lots of repetition. So I'm very excited to use this one because it's in my opinion, it is fairly open and go. And you'll have a breakdown of what to do with the lesson. It'll tell you what the objective is as well as how to teach it. So the last thing that we have here from our core curriculum is the Blossom and Root Arts and the History of Me, Level 0. And there are actually several things grouped into one here, which I appreciate because it's like a few less books that I had to get bound. So this is where you will have your artist study, your composer study, as well as the history of me. So this is, for example, what week 1 looks like. Every week has multiple pages. And so it will tell you the different options or the different parts. So you've got the history of me, which what I really like about this is that it actually starts your child a history education by learning about their own history, which I think is fantastic because I think that as children are still kind of grasping the concept of the fact that people lived before them and there was a whole world that existed before them and civilization was very different. Like I think that it's interesting that you can help them understand that by learning about their own family to start out with. The workbook that comes with it is all about the history of me. So I think this is going to be a really sweet book to keep as a keepsake, by the way. So you've got my favorite color, my favorite animal, my favorite book, and my favorite place. Things I love to do, and then a picture of doing things that I love to do, and things like that. So This book is specifically just the history of me. I don't know that there's anything else in here beyond that. Okay, actually, never mind. There are profiles that they're going to be doing as well. And you as the teacher can actually pick who you're going to profile. So for example, I believe the profiles start toward the end of the school year. Like I think that we might actually be doing them in February, for example. So you can do some Black History Month picks for this, or you can do even some local people. So like Helen Keller is from here. So maybe we'll do a Helen Keller day and we'll go visit her home, something like that. There's also, if you wanted to do this every week, you can also fill in, I believe there's enough spaces for the artist and composer study. So the way that Blossom and Root does it is that they do 4-week cycles. So for example, Claude Monet, I believe, is the first artist. So he will be the artist 4 weeks 1 through 4. And then after that, we'll switch to a new one. But so each week we're doing something different. So like 1 week as we're learning about his background, we might fill this in. So Blossom and Root really, they consider it open and go. I don't, because I do think that there's some prep work involved. But they really give you lots of options to help you as you're planning. So like I said, we've got an artist and a composer study, and then we've got a craft. So lots of different things to do there. One thing that my son really loved that I mentioned earlier was having prints that he could hold and look at up close for the artist study. Now, one thing that I will say, not all of these are, not every week is one that you can print. So here's, I believe, a Monet print. Some weeks are going to be, there's one who she makes quilts, and some of them, there were quilts that I could do. But then some of them, there were not. I did not have that option, and so it was just pottery. So that's something where we're going to have to pull up a picture of it on the screen. But I got those printed at Staples. I just thought that was a really good visual. Moving along to some of the kind of extra things that we are adding in, the supplemental. So the first one we have is this very, very basic logic book from Rod and Staff. In this particular one, we've been working through it for over the summer. So like, for example, every page has something like a page that you cut off, and this one had tools and sewing supplies. And so you had to glue which one went where. And then there was also how do these items get stored? So where do you store money? In a piggy bank. Where do you store books? On a bookshelf. So that is just the kind of activities that you'll see here. And so like, here's another one. This is, we hear words that rhyme. And so what rhymes with hook? Book, boat, note. But yes, so that is this book. We really enjoyed going through this book. I think this is probably actually the book we're going to use to start out every day with our lesson, just because I think it's something that's nice and easy to help get my son's brain flowing. We will also, to start out, be doing a calendar entry, just marking off what day it is. What I like about this calendar, this is a blank one. It's meant for scrapbooking, but I really like that it's blank, because if we accidentally forget about this until like March, it's not like we've wasted all of this. Like we can just start, like August is here and then March on the next page. So, and then we can just keep going until we have filled it up. But so that is what I really like about this book. I think I'm also going to have my son decorate it, so it's just like a nice little cute calendar. So we are doing that. And then the other thing we are doing, the final thing here, is a very basic Bible lesson every day, which is really going to be very, very simplified. We are not doing anything like church history or any of that kind of stuff yet, but we do have 4 resources. We're going to be doing 4-day school weeks. So, and then on day 5, that will be left open for forest school. We are in a local forest school group. Or if we have like doctor's appointments through the week, then we'll kind of shift things around. But the 4-day week will allow for a lot of flexibility. So there are, for the 4-day week, one of the things that I've noticed when we were doing different Bible-related education was that my son did not like all of these particular options as time went on. And so I think switching out through the week, having 4 different options of things we can go through is really going to help. So first up, we've got the biggest story Bible, and I do believe these were, in my opinion, a little bit long for preschool, which is when I started them with him. So I do understand that. Some of them are longer than others, but this is, in my opinion, a really great Bible story book. So maybe just pre-read the stories ahead of time before you read them. Another option we have is Indescribable, and this kind of pairs science and creation with God. So let me find, this is When You've Been Eclipsed, and it's got that great verse, be happy with those who are happy and sad with those who are sad. It's got like an entry here. It's got an entry here, and then it's got a little prayer as well as some kind of like fun fact type thing. So, and then some pictures. So this is a really fun one. And then this is a new one to us. This is called Theology. It's very popular. This one has fairly short in length entries. So it's very basic theological concepts. God created man and woman in his image. What does that mean? Are we exactly created in his image? Is it you look in the mirror and we look the same? Or what exactly does that mean? So it's got a very basic reading here, as well as the Bible verse that it comes from. And then it's got some pictures. And in the pictures are several different verses that it references. So you can even open up all of those verses to read. So this is a really awesome book. Last but not least, for our Bible curriculum, we have, I call them character cards, but there's various cards here. So Daily Grace Co. comes out with all of these different little card sets. Some of them are prayer cards. For example, we've got 31 days of prayer. So day 16, you're going to pray about the Great Commission. And then it's got kind of a prayer prompt and a Bible verse you read. That is just one example. Then we've got the armor of God, the fruit of the Spirit, the promises of God from A to Z, the attributes of God, and I think that's all I've got. So we'll take turns kind of going through these, and maybe even pick a random one to go through each week. But so those are going to be the 4 things that we'll be doing each week for Bible. We'll just pick one for each day. So that is my curriculum picks for my son's kindergarten year. I am so excited. I love watching these videos. So let me know down below if you have any questions, or if you've made a video yourself on your curriculum picks. Thank you guys again for watching. I hope to be making more homeschooling content, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful school year. Bye.